Well, hey there, friend, and welcome back for another episode of the Your.Hair.Mentor podcast, where I'm your host and your hair mentor, Crystal Green. And I invite you to come take a listen to the top leaders and thinkers and experts and innovators in the beauty industry as they share their stories of triumph and struggles and success in creating their businesses behind the chair. I hope you enjoy these episodes just as much as I did recording them. See you on the inside, friend.
And why don't you give me just a little background on who you are and where you're at and what you're doing these days?
My name is Tabitha. I am a fine-haired specialist and a certified trichologist now. I've been a cosmetologist for 20 plus years. The number will never go higher. It's just going to always be 20 plus. It just sounds like a lot, but I've always done fine hair, have fine hair myself. So from the beginning, kind of attracted that audience and that clientele. When fine haired clients start losing their hair, we notice it a little bit sooner. And so kind of was always trying to help people with hair loss. And then that's when I found trichology and have been immersed in that ever since. And I've loved the education of it ever since.
How long have you been a certified trichologist?
It's been 6 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's something that I feel like first came on my radar. It might have been closer to 10 years ago that I learned what that is. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I've been kind of side eyeing it for a long time because I'm super data driven personally.
Mhm.
And why don't you explain what trichology is and what it means to be a trichologist for anyone that's listening that doesn't know?
Yeah, so trichology is the study of the scalp and hair, and it's learning more in depth of hair loss prevention. It's scalp symptoms and issues, scalp diseases, hair diseases, um, and helping the client come to figuring out what type of hair loss you have. There are hundreds of different types of hair loss. And
Oh,
so there's different ways to help with each type of hair loss.
there's hundreds of different types of hair loss. I had no
Yes.
idea. So does that go from everything that's hormonal to nutritional, and then like you said, maybe some disease oriented stuff?
Mhm. Yes.
Interesting. Wow.
Yep. A lot of different scarring hair losses as well. Um, yeah, there's a lot of those as well. But
Hmm.
those of course all come from inside the body.
Okay. And so you have this little tool that you use, right? That's like a magnifying glass, basically.
Yep, it's a microscope.
Uh-huh.
And so that tells you a lot. You can see empty hair follicles, you can see new hair follicles, you can see inflammation in the scalp, you can see, of course, things like seborrheic dermatitis, eczema, psoriasis, things like that that might be contributing to the hair loss as well.
Fascinating. How long of an appointment does that usually take? Like if someone wants to come see you for a hair loss diagnosis, how long are they in your chair with you?
So I have a hair check appointment and it's an hour long.
Oh, okay.
So kind of go through the questionnaire really quickly. Of course, the questionnaire usually tells you a lot about what's going on, whether you can kind of categorize it very quickly, whether it's um, abnormal hair shedding, or if we're dealing with more of a female or male pattern, or if we're dealing with something that might be scarring. So it's kind of put into those kind of categories, and then we kind of go from there.
And then with your certification, are you able to treat differently? Like, are you able to not prescribe, but are you able to kind of recommend nutritional changes or supplements, or how does that look like?
So I think each state is different. In Minnesota, um, yes, we can. So we carry the Nutrafol, and I also have the XTC brand. But yes, and I've taken nutrition courses as well, and so I can recommend supplements based on that. It really depends on what type of hair loss they're having and what's causing the hair loss. Of course, if I feel like it's more thyroid related, I definitely would send them to a doctor to get blood work and all those sorts of things, and to check if they're on medication, to check with their doctor before adding supplements as well.
Right. Okay. So, sorry, that reminds me. I didn't ask you where you're at. You're in Minnesota.
Hmm. Yes,
Okay.
right outside
Um,
Minneapolis.
oh, okay. Nice. Have you been there like your whole career or?
Yes, I grew up in Colorado, a little small farm town, and
Oh,
then I moved out here when I was 19.
oh,
So I've been here ever since.
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What was the certification program like for you with trichology? Like
So I went,
how long is that program and like where did you do it?
so it was through USTI, and they are out of New York. And so the first two classes I did online, and then they have their 4-day hands-on training, and it's certified through the American Medical Association. So we did that in New York, but I think they do classes all over now.
This is really fascinating to me because there's a lot of like advanced certificates. I'm doing air quotes here because in hairdressing that really don't mean anything. You know, they're not like accredited. It's just like Susie ran a class and then you're Susie certified, right?
Mhm.
As far as I understand, this is the only like recognized elevated certificate we could have as hairstylists. Would you agree?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into any other ones, but it's definitely in that scientific kind of that bridge between cosmetologists and dermatologists, right? So
Yes. It's
yeah.
like an esthetician that has their like advanced esthetician, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think this is the only thing that I have been able to find that is like a recognized, advanced level for that, which
Mhm.
is so cool. I think that's great because then your clients or potential clients could find you based on that too. If they figure out somehow that they need to see a trichologist. I mean, how many trichologists are in your area? Do you know?
I don't think there's very many. I know I've met with a few of them because of my education that I just started. So they're actually taking more education. Um, but I know of, I think, 3 or 4 in the area, but they're just getting started. So kind
Cool.
of helping them out.
What is your education that you just started? Tell me about that.
So I've been wanting to do education for a while. And then when I was unessential during COVID,
Mm,
that is like, it's now or never, right? So
yes.
um, really basically when I was starting, I wanted to have just a class for hairstylists to have all the information to help their clients with hair loss. And so I ended up doing the hair loss specialist course, and that went really well. And then everyone kind of wanted to learn more. They wanted to be more on the trichology side. So it was kind of like, okay, you don't have to be a full trichologist to help people with hair loss. And so that was kind of that first course that I did. And and then now I'm almost finished. I'm going to roll out my trichology course here in probably next month for those who want to continue to learn and do more education on it. So it's been
The
really great.
and this is going to be for people that are certified trichologists then? Or
That and the people who have taken the hair loss specialist course. It's kind of
gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, because I imagine like you go get your trichology certification and then you want to know what to do with it more and like who to serve and how to serve them. So I could see like an education platform for people that are trichologists being helpful too.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yes.
And so it's all courses that you're running online, is that right?
Yes, and I do have some things for my clients as well, as far as like the quiz, and then taking the quiz to help me figure out what kind of hair loss they have, and then I end up having these little mini courses that they could take as well that helps them go through like how to deal with stress, because that's a big one right now. Um, their type, if they checked, thyroid, PCOS, if they checked, anxiety, if they've checked all these things, it kind of brings them to a different mini course, and especially like nutrition wise too.
Hmm. I like this because I feel like in all of these specialty niches that exist in our industry, there's like education that needs to happen on the hairstylist side, but there's education that also needs to happen on the client side too. It's what I found with what I'm trying to focus on with like communication techniques and, basically clients getting what they want out of their hairstylist. It's a two-way street, right? Both parties have to understand what's going on. And I know there's some hairstylists that don't like to share their like techniques or their information with their clients because they feel like it's like not privileged information, but it's like special, and they're afraid that if they like give their clients the information that they're giving away their power in a way. But I think it's the total opposite. I think like educating our consumers is only going to elevate us, right?
I think so. I agree. And someone asked me too, because I'm teaching like local trichologists what I do and how I do my questionnaire and consultation, and I just give them my questionnaire and all this, and it's like, well, don't you feel like they'll be taking clients? And I go, I think there's enough clients to go around, and there needs to be more people helping people with hair loss. And dermatologists just don't have time either. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have the time. A lot of them aren't even, they only get a few hours in hair loss. I mean, they're trying to help people with skin cancer and
Yeah.
very serious things. And not that hair loss isn't serious, but I think it's great. I think there should be more of us around to kind of help with that bridge. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The dermatologist has to focus on the things that are going to kill you, not the things that are just going to mess you up emotionally.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's cool. I like the sharing of the information, and I have to imagine, like, do you know the statistic on people with hair loss? It's probably a lot. I don't know at all.
It it's really high. For I think they say, and this was a few years ago, it's 50% of women who are 50 have hair loss or something like that. But I think it's a lot higher now with COVID. Um, the COVID hair loss has really accelerated. Like everything has really gotten out of hand, I think.
Yeah, I had some serious shedding when I had COVID, and it was like kind of before everyone was talking about it.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh my God. It was almost like when I had my kids, that like
Yeah.
postnatal, shedding. And I was just like, something is seriously wrong here.
Yeah.
And it took
Yes.
a while for my hair to recover too.
Yes. Yeah. It's scary. And then you add stress on top of that, like people losing their jobs or, cutting back or not wanting to go. And you add other things. It's just, it can last for a long time.
Yeah. So tell me more about the product line that you carry because I've heard of Nutrafol, but I don't know anything about it specifically. I want to hear a little bit more about that stuff.
Yeah. So Nutrafol has, the nice thing about Nutrafol is it has a lot of science backed information with it as well. They have a prenatal supplement, a vegan supplement, which is really hard to find. They have one for women, and then they have one for, it's called Women's Balance for menopause and postmenopause, which is great as well because we need different types of nutrition. It has ashwagandha in it for stress relief. It has even stress supplements that you can kind of add with it if you are going through some, anxiety and things like that. So I like the science behind it. I've been on hair loss stuff for, I mean, consistently for a good 7 years, if not more, maybe even 10.
Mm.
And when I switched everything over to the Nutrafol, I actually had hair growth as well. So that was really fun for me to see because I thought, well, I've been doing all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really good. So I even have before and after pictures of myself of doing the Nutrafol supplements, the shampoo, conditioner, and then they have a topical as well.
Okay. What are some of the like key ingredients in the supplements that are like the hair growth? ingredients?
Um, I would have to look exactly what they are, but there's a lot of DHT blockers in them as well, like saw palmetto. So genetic hair loss is caused by DHT in that testosterone level, and so especially when women are having menopause, those when those hormones shift, we could be creating more androgens and more of that DHT. So saw palmetto, stinging nettle, there's some other herbs in there that help with kind of blocking those DHT
Interesting. I wonder
that
if that would
bind.
also help with women who start growing like facial hair because of that too, if it like keeps it kind of at bay a little bit.
Sure. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Hmm.
Interesting. And then do the shampoos and conditioners have any of those ingredients in them, or are they just something that's like lightweight and nice for fine hair?
No, the shampoo does also have those ingredients in them as well.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and some boosters to kind of help keep that hair in the growing stage too.
Okay.
Conditioner, you're not really applying it to the scalp. It's just more
Right.
for the hair.
At least
Uh,
you're not supposed to.
yeah. With this conditioner, you actually can because it's
Okay.
non-comedogenic. It's non-pore clogging, and so people who come in and they have psoriasis patches, it actually feels really good to leave the conditioner on the scalp for a couple minutes and then rinse off.
Oh, interesting.
So, but most conditioners are not made for the scalp.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Right. They're not intended to be slathered on there.
Right. And for fine hair, you don't really want that on the scalp anyway. So,
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
Is Nutrafol a company that is associated with any of our professional distributors, or is it like its own entity that you order through?
I think it's its own. We
Uh-huh.
order straight through Nutrafol. Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
the only thing that I've seen about them was like an ad on Instagram or something where it was like, do they like personalize shampoo or something like that? Was that them? Maybe it wasn't them. Do they have
Mm,
like different flavors of the shampoo for different hair types or anything, or is it just pretty
no,
basic?
it's
Okay.
just the one shampoo, one conditioner.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not, maybe I'm thinking of something else then. How did you find them? Was that something that was recommended through your trichology program or?
No, it actually wasn't. I was reading a lot of reports and a lot of their scientific reviews, and I mean, their before and after pictures are pretty crazy as well. And so, starting to go through perimenopause too, I was like, this is interesting for me. And so, it actually helped me with some of my menopause symptoms as well.
Hmm.
And so, the supplements have been really great. So no, I just started using them personally. And then when after I saw results, and I kind of did that with the other things I was selling too, is when I started selling them. So just they kind of set you up with your own, website. And then I also sell it at the salon as well.
Gotcha. I mean, that's really the best way to do things because then you're speaking from experience when you're talking to your clients about it. And then you don't feel like a used car salesman being like,
Right.
buy my stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
much out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had clients come in, it's like, oh, this had really good reviews. And then I look at the ingredients and, and there's really nothing in it to help with hair loss. And so um, there's a lot of stuff out there people are selling that don't actually do anything. So
Yeah. I'm really curious to ask your opinion on silicones in
mhm.
products and on our hair because I know there's kind of a hot debate out there about silicones. And so, from someone who specializes in scalp health, what is your take on silicones in hair products?
Oh, silicones. I think there's so many different types. I think they have made even water soluble silicones, correct?
Yes.
Through Color
Yes.
Wow and all that. And so I haven't really dug deep into any of that. I feel like the Color Wow products, what I've read from theirs, is anything that can be rinsed off and easily to remove is probably better than the ones that build up.
Mm.
Um, in where we are, there's a lot of people with hard water and things like that that can really silicones can just grab it and hold on to it and keep it on the hair on the scalp. I've looked under the microscope, and some people's scalps are orange from hard water buildup, and
What?
it's
That's fascinating.
clogged. And so I don't feel like that's very good to have all those minerals left on the scalp for very long. And so I do a scalp treatment and a hair mist machine, and we move all that out, and it literally looks like different scalps. Like this one's orange. It looks like they use self tanner on their scalp, and then this one is, clear.
Wow.
So
What do
I
you
feel like,
use? Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so I feel like with silicones, if you're washing it off, if we're removing it, same with dry shampoo, right? Seeing dry shampoo stuck in the hair follicle and clogging it to the point where it's hard under the microscope, not good for the hair, not good for the scalp. So if we're removing it or using a detox once a month, I think they're fine.
Yeah. So I guess that leads me to ask then, because I have a theory about this, which I'll come back to. How do you
Yeah.
feel about sulfates in shampoos? What are your thoughts on that?
Um, Sulfates are not good. I don't feel like sulfates are good. Now, they will strip. They do have some side effects. Some sulfates can have some side effects. We don't want anything inflaming the scalp or inflaming the hair, and sulfates can do that. So now, as far as if someone has a scalp condition like seborrheic dermatitis, they might need a little bit of sulfates for a few weeks just to really cleanse that all out and to balance the pH. But that comes with side effects as well, because usually it's not just a sulfate shampoo. Usually there's other ingredients in there that can have some serious side effects as well.
Okay, so yeah, I've never considered the sulfates themselves being inflammatory, but is that just because they're such a like harsh cleanser that they like disrupt the acid mantle too much or something?
Right. The pH, the scalp wants to be balanced. The pH wants to be balanced. And so in the scalp, it has a lower barrier function than our face.
Oh,
And so it's more sensitive. And so if the hair follicles are already having inflammation, we don't want to have anything else that would be inflammatory.
interesting.
Um, but some people, if you have a normal pH,
Hmm.
um, and a healthy scalp, sulfates probably aren't going to matter too much. It's not going to be
Right.
that big of a deal.
That's kind of my take on them too. So my theory about sulfates and silicones is that they're related. I think it was back in like 2014 that sulfates started to be like demonized in the beauty industry, right? We realized that these like salt-based cleansers stripped hair color quickly, and so everyone got clever and was like, "Ah, we'll make something that doesn't strip hair color quite as much." But at the
Mhm,
time, silicones were also one of the like biggest, heaviest ingredients in all of the conditioning hair products because they make the hair feel amazing.
mhm,
But we were using sulfate based cleansers all the time that basically stripped all of them out so they never built up in our hair, right?
mhm,
And then since then, there's been, kind of like this, oh, silicones build up in your hair. Silicones are bad for your hair. Silicones are bad for your scalp. And I'm like, well, is it just because we're not using, collectively, we're not all using sulfates anymore to cleanse them out? Because I have clients over the years that use the very cheap sulfate based shampoo and the heavily silicone laden conditioners, and their hair's beautiful,
mhm.
stunning, but they have healthy scalps. They
Sure.
don't have any issues, at least from what I can see with my naked eye. And so I'm like, I think you're doing just fine. To me, you've got the right recipe. If you're going to use the silicones, you've got the heavier cleanser to get it out. I don't know if you've thought about that at all, but I'm like, I'm kind of team silicone in the right situation.
Sure.
But that's just
Yeah.
because, with like heavily bleached hair, it really does give it a cosmetic feel and makes it feel silky and soft as long as it's not building up in your hair,
Right.
and it should be fine.
Right.
But I also don't specialize in like fine thinning hair or people with scalp issues too. So I guess that's kind of where the nuances are, right?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think like yeah, if they're not really having any issues with their scalp or the pH of their scalp or any symptoms. Like, I mean, if you're having scalp symptoms, then something's going on. You
right.
really shouldn't have itchiness, burning, tingling, none of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but if everything seems to be going good, the hair feels good, it's not breaking,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're using is probably okay.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
also seen a lot of clients over the years that are trying to use more gentle, natural shampoos that seem to have started having scalp issues since
Mhm.
then, too. And like, my thought is like maybe it's just not cleansing enough for them, or maybe it has some other kind of conditioning ingredients or something that stays on the scalp too much. I don't know if you've had a problem with clients coming in having experienced that, where they're trying to do good, and so
Right.
they're choosing things that are like quote unquote healthier for their hair, but then they made a problem out of it.
Mhm. That one's hard to do too. If usually someone is having symptoms from a shampoo they think or a conditioner, it usually is because of the natural ingredients. People are usually more um, allergic to something from trees, plants, seeds, nuts, things like that. So sometimes it might just be one of those little key ingredients in there, instead of a synthetic fragrance.
Right.
You know,
Something
for
that's
example.
like inactive or, yeah, can't react
Right,
to your skin as much. That's interesting.
right.
Um, One of the companies I've used for a long time, and I still use their hair color because I like that it's ammonia free, but they have a whole styling line that's based on like healthy hair and healthy scalps. It's Away Organics.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've heard of them,
I
but
haven't heard of them. I haven't looked into it though.
they have a lot of plant derived ingredients and like natural essential oils and all these things that sound really good on paper. And I've had clients over the years that have had scalp issues. Now I am not a scalp specialist, but I'm like, hey, they have these things that are supposed to be good for you in this line, let's try that. And it made their scalps way worse.
Mm,
Like they like reacted to the ingredients in there more. So then I'm like, oh shoot, I think you just go back to using what you were, because this made it worse.
yeah, essential oils are a little tricky for people. Um, and those again will gather things. Oils like to collect things. So if it's not getting washed off, or if it's something that's actually penetrating into the scalp and kind of staying there for a while, it could even harbor some bacteria, things like that. So they could be getting some folliculitis or scalp acne or some inflammation in the hair follicle too from essential oils.
Right. I know there was such a movement there for a while that essential oils could cure everything.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
not so
everyone's
much.
different. Everyone reacts to things differently. So for one person, it might be great.
Right.
For someone else, it might give you symptoms.
Yeah. So, do you have like a standard protocol for self care at home for your clients, like in terms of a washing routine or like brushing, scalp stimulating, anything like that?
It depends on their scalp. If I usually put them in that, are you dry kind of for your face, right? Are you oily, dry, or normal? If they're oily, then they need to shampoo more often, probably. Um, if they're dry, they can go a little bit later. Usually, a scalp topical is recommended as well. Yeah, so it just kind of depends on where they fit in those categories. If you can do a daily scalp massage, I am a fan of microneedling before topicals. That really helps too to kind of stimulate the scalp. But yeah, it kind of depends on what category they're in.
So, basically, everyone that comes to see you, you do like a assessment on their scalp. Is that how you run things? Because it'd be hard to make any recommendations then unless you knew what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't look under the microscope every time. That's like a hair check service, but But they can usually tell you, and you can usually feel like as you're
Mm-hmm.
washing the hair, you can feel if it's more oily or tacky, and then you ask them how many days has it been since you've washed. If it's been 3 days and it's really tacky under there, right? You're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, maybe you should start washing every other day. Ask them if it bothers them. Do you feel like your hair gets oily by the end of the day? And they're like, no, or they're
Mm-hmm.
like, yes, by the end of the day, it's really oily. Um, uh, let's see, Moroccan oil makes a oily scalp treatment that you apply before shampooing. That helps really well. So
Is it
there's
kind of
usually
like an astringent of some sort, or I wonder what
it
that
just
has in
kind of
it?
balances the pH, so it kind of removes a little bit more of that oil. And then you just use it right before you shampoo, and then you shampoo that all out.
I've seen a lot of those in like the textured hair community where they have like pre-shampoo scalp treatments.
Mhm.
That's probably for the same thing, I would imagine,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yep. It just kind of gently lifts anything that is clogging the hair follicle through there too.
Okay.
Hmm.
Interesting. I'd be curious to have a trichologist on here to talk about similar like trial and error stuff with textured hair too. Because like
Hmm.
you specialize in like fine thinning hair.
Hmm.
I'd be curious if the recommendations would be similar or like wildly different, because like those hairs need different things.
Yeah. Well, I can give you some recommendations for sure.
I would love that. Yes, absolutely. Please. Okay, another question. So, because you deal with fine hair most of the time, do you do color first of all in the salon, or you just cut? Okay, so you do color. Do you have certain like techniques and products that you use to help support the strength and the health of that fine hair, even away from the scalp, like the hair that's already grown and can be kind of sensitive? Is there things that you're like, oh, I would never do that, or I would never use that, or I always do this, or always use that?
I feel like I've tried everything as far as styling aids. Is that what you're talking about?
And even color lines. Like I know there's some people who are in camp ammonia based lightener, and other people are MEA lightener fans,
Mhm.
because of the pros and cons for that stuff. So I don't know if what you decide to use and why.
So we use Wella in the salon. It's PPD free. So usually if people are going to have a reaction, that is not in the product. And I think actually all European color lines have to have that out of it.
Mm,
So definitely do that. I do have a few people who are sensitive scalps. I always use, if I'm lightening, I always use their Wellaplex
hmm
to kind of in the lightener to strengthen the hair as well. So that's kind of a must that I always use.
Is that a bond
Um,
builder? Is that right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've seen really great results with that. People who come in with severe hair breakage from someone else, and then we can actually still keep them light, probably not as light as they want to go, but
Mm,
because I do get it's like I can't, this is why you had breakage because you wanted to go this light. We can try this. I'll keep checking it and see it's not the perfect product. That's not going to make your hair break. But we do a different technique in the salon too, where I foil from temple to temple. And
hmm
so it kind of looks like a visor that goes all the way back. It's a great way to foil fine hair because fine hair usually doesn't have a core to it sometimes. And so it's so easily to break, especially around the hairline. So I'm coloring all the hairs at the same time. So I'm not just starting on one side and then, going all the way around the head and ending on the other. It's actually all getting processed at the same time.
Gotcha.
So I always do that as well,
hmm
as far as lightening the hair too.
This is probably taboo to ask someone because it's against manufacturers' recommendations, but do you ever put your foil clients under the heat?
I do not.
Yeah.
No, nope, that is a big no-no, and that's kind of where I see a lot of breakage as well, is, people being put I don't think any are there any lighteners today that are made that need to be under heat anymore?
I mean, all of them I'm pretty sure still say like, don't ever put this under heat. I
Okay.
don't,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
I
it's
mean,
a
I know, I
hard no.
mean, back in the day, I mean, we used to always put them under heat, but
Yeah,
again, I probably didn't even read the read the instructions back then. It probably did say not to, but we
yeah,
had fires everywhere.
right.
So,
And that's just what we did. Yeah.
right.
Because it was all
Yeah.
about fast and efficiency, not like health and longevity with your client's hair, too.
Right.
Um, have you heard of this product called Albage?
That sounds familiar.
Okay, so there's this company. I'm very intrigued by them. I have yet to actually have my hands on any of it. I'm trying to get them to come on the podcast so I can pick their brains, but they make tools. They make like a blow dryer and a curling iron and a flat iron that are called like repronizers or something. And then they have a lightener. They don't call it a lightener. They call it like a blonding cream or something.
Okay.
But they swear that it will not damage the hair. Like
Hmm.
you can leave it on full strength and it will never get flexible, spongy, stretchy.
Hmm.
It will not break down the hair. Now, if it's previously damaged hair, it's not going to heal it. But they're like, you can pull through the next time over that previously lightened hair with the albage, and it like keeps the integrity of the hair solid. I don't know how it works. It kind of seems like it's too good to be true.
Right. I
So
think I have heard of these tools, and I think I ended up trying to look them up one time,
uh-huh.
but there wasn't a whole lot of information.
No, they're
Um,
kind of cagey. They're
okay.
like, it's like hard to actually find the information, which to me is a little red flaggy, but some
Yes.
people that I really respect love them and
Okay.
swear by them. So I'm like, there's got to be
Yeah.
something here.
Yeah. Well, it's
So,
kind of like when I got my Dyson dryer. I was having shoulder issues, so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get the Dyson. You know, it's lighter, it's shorter, so I don't have to hold my
mm-hmm.
arm out. And I really loved it. I really love all of it. Still don't understand the technology of it. I would love
Yes.
to learn some more,
Yeah.
but
I feel the
they don't
same
really
way.
tell you how it all works either. So,
Right. Right. It's just like wind tunnel technology. You're like, okay, that sounds cool.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the Dyson has that attachment on it for frizz.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's
It's
like that little curvy thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a little curvy thing that you slide down the hair, and I'm like, how is this possible? Like the hair doesn't even get sucked into it.
Right.
I I'm so baffled by the whole thing, but it is shocking how it works,
Right.
honestly.
Yes, I know. That's actually the point that I brought up when someone was like, I don't know about those Hair Buron. That's the name of the company. I don't know about those Hair Buron tools. I'm like, you know what? I thought the same thing about my Dyson. And
Mhm.
I love it. Like, I
Yeah,
love it so much. And I didn't think I would. And all the weird little attachments. And it just works.
yeah.
I don't know.
So interesting. I might have to look into that a little bit
Yeah,
further
I'm very
then.
curious to, if anything, just order this Albage stuff just to try
Yeah,
it and like I don't know, do some tests, see how it works, see if
sure,
what they say is true. Because if it is, I feel like that would be a game changer in our industry.
sure.
So I don't even know if it's like closely related to what is in typical hair lightener at all. I don't know. Like they don't tell you the ingredients.
Oh, okay.
I
Wow.
can't find them.
Huh.
Maybe on the bottle once I had it, it would say, but I believe it's like a powder, just like you would, mix with any lightener and then a developer, and that's it.
Interesting.
It is, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, and especially if you specialize in like fine hair that is very quickly and easily damaged. I feel like that could be a super useful tool.
sure.
Yeah.
Great. I'll look into that.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, me too. One of these days, I don't know how pricey it is, but I've heard it's very pricey for a
Mhm.
container of it. Um, okay, let's see. What other questions did I have for you as a trichologist? Um, so where do you see yourself going with your business? So you've got your, or I guess how many days are you working behind the chair right now is my first question.
I'm 4 days.
4 days a week.
I'm 3 days, and then the one full day I just do hair loss.
Oh, okay.
So I'm looking to actually go 2 days behind the chair and then 2 days hair loss, I think this summer.
And when you say hair loss, you mean you're literally just helping diagnose hair problems. Okay.
Yeah.
And then with your online business, was this kind of a exit strategy that you're kind of creating for yourself, that at some point when you want to step away from being behind the chair, in hopes that this will kind of support you?
Yes. Yeah. It was that 5-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually last year, it's been a year and a half now, I ended up having frozen shoulder. And so I could not move my arm out or up. And so I
What
was
does
like,
that even mean? That sounds horrible.
it was so bad. It's so painful. It was so painful. Thank goodness it was my left arm, because if it was my right, I wouldn't have been able to cut hair. But with it being my left, I actually had someone shampoo and blow dry for me, which was blow drying was probably the worst. And my clients are so great. They would leave wet, or they were just so great. But I really had to cut down my hours as well. And so I've kind of kept the hours cut down, because I'm like, well, I don't want it to happen to the other side or make it worse, because they actually found a tear as well. So now I have a tear in my shoulder, which is from just repetition and
Wow.
repetitive movements.
Yeah, yeah.
So that kind of made it happen a little bit faster. And I was like, okay, at least I've already started this and I'm on my way, and we'll see where it goes. And it's been going really well. Um, yeah, I'd like to have a team someday. I'd like to have a team of trichologists who are doing more trainings and traveling to meet some of these really awesome people who are taking the course and all of that too. So that's kind of where I'm not sure where it will lead or
Mm-hmm.
where it will go, but I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Do you feel like most of your followers, excuse me, most of your followers on Instagram are fellow hairstylists, or like clients and the general public?
I haven't really checked on that. I probably want to say it's about half and half on my Tabitha hairstylist. I did create another, it's fine hairstylist, and that's just specifically for hairstylists.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I have regular people who start following me on there as well. So I think on my Tabitha hairstylist, I want to say it's probably about half and half.
Gotcha. I feel
Mhm.
like there would be a huge need for someone that could speak to the general public about hair loss stuff, that's like a trusted resource, because it's like so many people are suffering with it. And
Mhm.
yes, their hairstylist should know and be able to help them, but they should be able to help themselves too. And I'm sure they get online and Google, hair loss or
Mhm.
thinning or whatever, and it's just a lot of garbage, and B, just like so much noise to try to get through.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like even if you had like a, I don't love Facebook these days, but like a Facebook group or something that you could run that was like geared towards the general public, that might get fairly popular very quickly.
Mhm.
That would be like an easy thing for hairstylists that don't want to specialize in that too. It could be like, oh, you need to go check out this Tabitha girl. Like she's got all the information, some good product recommendations, whatever. It would be a way to like reach more customers too.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yes,
cool.
that's good. I do get a lot of people off of my YouTube as well. I mean, there's a lot of people on there who
Yeah.
follow me uh, at that place too. So
I didn't even know you had YouTube. Are you pretty active on there?
I'm trying to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really, I mean, some of my older stuff that I've left up during COVID is pretty funny, but I've left it up. But some
Yeah.
of my first videos are pretty cringy, but I'm just getting better at them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm starting to do more on YouTube.
I always forget about YouTube, to be honest. Like I don't personally use it for a lot of stuff, and so I just forget that it's there as a resource. And especially hair resources, if you're trying to reach the general public, like they're always going to go to YouTube to find stuff. So it's something I should probably do too, but between everything else I got going on, I'm like, I don't have time for YouTube.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
It
It's
is.
overwhelming. How did you get started doing like the podcast? How did that happen?
It was like I started with a book. This whole like I'm going to do something different during COVID. It was I'm going to write a book to help educate clients to ask for what they want appropriately and encourage them to speak out when they don't like something or like something, basically just empowering clients in the
Mhm.
stylist chair. And then I couldn't figure out how to end the book. It was like I wanted more, but I couldn't just say it with words. And so I thought, well, I'll do some videos. And so then I made some videos and got some feedback with that, but it just wasn't quite what I wanted to do. Like they were little mini courses. And really, I just kind of wanted to talk to people. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to start a podcast. And so, like, the first 20 episodes, or maybe it's like 15 episodes, are just me talking that I think are great. But then I was approached by some people that wanted to be guests, and I was like, well, this could be interesting. And it's kind of morphed into me just bringing on industry experts and like talking about how they've found success and what they're doing. And it's so fascinating to me. It's now my favorite thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
so like the other stuff that I have is great. Like I just got an ebook published, which is exciting. And I'm going to go talk to some beauty colleges about it. And I'm working on
Great.
something else I'm going to release with a membership. But really and truly, the podcast is like my baby.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I feel like it fulfills what I'm missing working in a salon with other stylists, right? You know, that sense of camaraderie, and you get to kind of share in some commiserating together or just inspire each other. And that's what I love so much about this industry. And so talking to people that are in it is fascinating, and I love it.
No, that's
Yeah.
great.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm always curious about people too. And that's kind of what's been great about the online education space and people reaching out. It's like, well, what do you think about this? And it just makes you think of, different ways to do it. And that's kind of how the whole quiz got started, the hair loss quiz. Is one of my friends was like, I think you're missing a whole piece of the puzzle by not talking to the clients directly about this too. And so that's kind of how all that morphed together too. So,
Yeah, that's funny. I made a quiz last year for clients also that was like, what's your hair type?
mhm,
Because it's like step one, you need to know where you're coming from to know what to ask for help at least, or find the hairstylist that specializes in your hair type or your hair problems or whatever. So I think
right.
it's very clever. And people love quizzes.
Yeah.
Like, back in the day, like those quizzes at the back of Cosmo, that don't mean anything really.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
what's your celebrity food type? You're like, who cares? But you
Right.
still take the stinking quiz because you're
Yeah.
like, I want to know. That's why they're so good. It's like half entertaining and also a little educational. So I think
For
it's
sure.
fantastic. Yeah. That's why I used that to share with your post today that I was going to interview, because I'm like, I love a good quiz. Hopefully that got some traffic there for you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Tabitha, this has been really great. And it's really nice to get to know you in person, right? Not just on Instagram. I feel like I have these relationships with people online, and it's like, I think I know them, but I kind of don't.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, you don't get to know someone's personality quite as much on just our posts online. So I would love to see where this goes for you in like a trichologist group kind of setting, or I don't know. I love this, and I want to like push more of this education focused stuff in our industry. So I think it's just fantastic, and I'd like to support you however I can. Which leads me to say, if you have a website or booking link for clients, do you want to tell people where they can find you for that? And then also with your education, where people can find you if they're interested in that.
Yeah, I think just my website, Tabitha F as in Frank, tabithafhair.com. I have a page on there for hairstylists, for clients, all of that on the front page. So you can get a hold of me there.
And then do you sell your Nutrafol products on your website as well?
Yes. Yep. There's a shop
Awesome.
on there too with laser caps, and I do have some ebooks on there as well.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Unless you had any questions for me, I feel like we did a great job today.
No, it was fun. I liked it.
Awesome. And then when you get a chance, can you please send me that recommendation of the trichologist that specializes in
Oh,
textured
you bet.
hair?
You
I'd
bet.
love to bring them on. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, and your dogs were quiet the whole time.
They were.
Look at that. We did it. Amazing. Okay, Tabitha. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank
And
you. All
I will see you on the gram.
right. Talk to
Okay. Bye.
you. Bye.
All right, friend. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Your Hair Mentor podcast. It has been my pleasure to be here as your host. Again, my name is Crystal Green. And until next time, my friend, as I always love to say, have a wonderful hair day, and I'll see you then. Okay, bye.